Live. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another Facebook Live wine education session with Igor and Anu.
Hi everyone. Yes, today we got two cool wines, and I think fun pronunciations is going to be the theme of today's tastings. All
Cool. Can't wait. So what are we starting with?
We start with Txakoli from Basque Country in Spain.
All right. This is the name of the wine, Txakoli.
Txakoli, Txakolina is the region in North Spain. It's in the Basque Country.
Okay.
The name of the winery is Itsamendi, and the grapes that Txakoli typically is made from is called Reverie. So that's one of the indigenous grapes. There's a couple other grapes in the region, but it's mostly with that. The cool thing about this one, it's very unusual in a sense, is because there's actually a little bit of Riesling in it, which is very unusual for Txakoli wines.
Okay, and the winery Itsamendi, I think you're telling me, has an interesting name. It means sea and mountain in Basque.
Itsamendi in Basque language, yes. And Basque is kind of, well, for a long time they wanted to separate from Spain. They probably still do. So they have their own language, and they do things their own way. Apparently they have their own sport games. They have their own
it's a different culture there. For a long time, they have had a different culture, so different language, different cuisine. So yeah, that makes sense.
And Basque Country is considered, kind of the mecca of the food world. I think it has San Sebastian has the most Michelin-star restaurants in the world.
Yes.
So tapas is famous. So this is the wine from that region. But one of the interesting things about Txakoli in general is typically it's not that complex of a wine. In fact, it has a lot of in common with Vinous, which we discussed frequently over the last couple of weeks. Is both it's Atlantic influenced. They try to harvest it early to kind of keep its green flavor.
Vinous fresh flavor. Yes. Yeah, and this is this winery is located by the Bay of Biscay.
Yes, so. Yes. So this wine is typically sold young without a lot of aging, and it has a certain sparkle and fizz to it.
Okay.
That's a typical Txakoli. This is a little more complex version of it. So let's pour
this is supposed to be a very nice example of this wine, right? So
one of Jess Robinson's critics actually said that earlier vintage of this particular cuvee, 7, as you can see on the label, was the best Txakoli he's ever tasted.
Oh yeah, well, I mean the scores reflect that 17.5. Out of 20, and then 92 points, James Suckling. So this is supposed to be very, very nice wine.
Yeah, and you could tell by the colors, it's got some depth to it.
It looks like a little bit cloudy. I wouldn't say that. But
yeah, well, it's been aged on lees. So the winemakers, you did a little research on the winemakers who put this winery together, right? They started a
little bit. Back up, why don't you explain aged on lees, just in case someone doesn't know what that is.
Lees is dead wine cells that kind of frequently form at the bottom of barrels or whatever the aging mechanism is, and frequently winemakers take it out to make it clear. But sometimes, if you want the wine to develop creaminess and some body to it, you let it age on lees. So like I said, usually this wine is not aged on lees, or it's has the most kind of basic aging elements before it's released into the marketplace.
Right.
But these guys, they're actually one of their goals is to make wines that has a bigger body, more structure, more ageability, and the goal is to make it pair better with the Basque cuisine that's world famous. So you have great cuisine, and the wine that's typically made in that region is not that great. So here's an opportunity to match the wine to the cuisine.
Okay. So a little bit about the winemakers, or the owners, actually. It's owned by a group of winemakers that got together in 1989. And then in 1995, they opened their first winery together. So it's a group of winemakers in Mustic in Spain. But then they moved the vineyard in 2002 to the Bay of Biscay, this particular winery location. So yeah, I thought it was interesting that it's owned by a bunch of winemakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're dedicated to their craft, and they had a vision to make a winery like this.
Yeah. And man, this is not this is a complex wine. You even get a slight note of petrol, which is a typical note for Riesling.
Yeah, you can taste that, which sounds like a bit of an odd tasting note, but it essentially makes the wine more complex. So it's like I would say pears, honeysuckle. It's a bit floral, apricot, but it's got that mineral kind of petrol flavor to balance it, so it's not just like fruit and flowers.
A little creamy.
Yeah,
not too much, man. It's a nice wine.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yes, probably the least element. So, and one of the issues that the region has is not an ideal wine growing region. It's the summers are cool and there's a lot of rain. So they even have kind of canopies to protect the vines from rot, and they need a sunshine
to protect it from all the rain. Okay, wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, so it's a very rainy region. So
okay.
Yeah.
No, but this wine is excellent. It's rich. I would pair it with since that's my job. Food pairing. I would pair it with like a seafood paella, because I think because of the lees, it's got some depth to it. It's not like a light wine. So yeah, obviously shellfish, garlic. I mean, Basque food is one of the most well-regarded cuisines of the world. So if you've not had Basque food, it's very different than Spanish food, and I think you should try it. So yeah, I would shellfish and seafood paella for this wine is what I would pick.
And these guys, Itsamendi, they're pioneers. Interesting. I'm doing a little research because I like that style of wine. I like originality in wines. And there's another winery, Gorky Zagiri, and that's when we opened the wine store. That was the very first Txakoli that we carried. And from all the research that I've done, these are the two best winemakers in Txakoli. So we happen to carry the two best. And what's another interesting thing about this particular wine, we are the only store in the West Coast to have this wine.
In the entire West Coast?
Yeah, I asked the distributor to bring 2 cases just for me. So nobody else has it.
They say this quite often, like, oh, this is the only wine that we have. I think that's kind of speaks to why you handpick stuff that's really good.
I handpick stuff from these pioneering winemakers, relatively, there's like, I don't know, millions of different wines made. But I think if you look at the millions as the benchmark number, relatively few of them are wines of quality. And wines of quality, I mean, that get 90 points and above.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a small batch winemaker, I think probably it's better to make quality wines. If you're making mass-produced millions of bottles, I can't imagine that you're putting too much quality in there.
And so there's like winemakers that make quality wine, and then there's winemakers that are pioneers, which is even fewer. And these guys are pioneers, like many other wines that we have in our store. So, yeah, pretty cool backstory to this wine. Great wine. Love it.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. So as I'm finishing up the glass, why don't you tell me a little bit about the next wine we're tasting? So we're tasting a Zinfandel, correct?
Yes, from Sky Vineyards, from Mount Veeder. Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, Mount Veeder is in it's between Sonoma and Napa. It's actually technically west of the city of Napa.
Okay.
And obviously, Zinfandel is kind of California's grape. At one point, I think.
I see a lot of Zin everywhere.
Yeah. I
Zin
think,
country probably more than anything else.
Well, I know when Arnold Schwarzenegger was in office, the Zin Society asked him to make a Zinfandel official wine of California, but he didn't do it. He
didn't want to pick favorites, or maybe he didn't care. Okay, so this is Sky Vineyard, and why? So it's called Sky Vineyard because I think it's actually the highest. It's the winery that's the highest up on Mount Veeder. So
yeah, it's this vineyard is 2,100 feet, above sea level.
Yeah.
So it's pretty high up, and so it's very interesting. It's obviously mountainous wine in California, and there's kind of few good things about the vineyard. Um, so it's east facing. So frequently when kind of the sun comes in, they get enough sunlight, but then they have enough shade for the vines to age properly, to kind of grow properly.
As opposed to getting too much sun and the fruit matures too fast.
Yeah,
it's kind of fruit forward.
Yeah, and Zinfandel, it kind of has got that issue. Its clusters. Some of the clusters might be ripe enough, but others are green. So when you pick the bunch, a lot of them would have like green, unripened grapes.
Okay.
But if you wait for those grapes to ripen, the other grapes become raisiny.
They become late harvest, basically.
Yeah, late harvest, okay. And so frequently they become raisins, and that kind of leads to a lot of the zins. Heat and kind of like those fruit bombs, and it escalates in alcohol. Sometimes zins hit 17 and above in alcohol. But when you have on the mountain vineyards, it's cooler. You get like Pacific, the wind from the Pacific. If you have a kind of slow ripening season and you let the grapes ripen, you can have a nice wines that have like nice acidity to them, and they're not like the fruit bombs that you typically used to from like hotter regions of California.
Right.
So, but Zinfandel is actually, it has a pretty cool backstory. So I think Zinfandel, everybody knows that name. Some people know Primativa from Puglia.
Italy, so that's what. It's the same grape, but they call it
the same grape. Else. But the birthplace, and I think that's the name that everybody knows, the original name, it's Cyril Janek Kastelanski.
Oh, yeah, everybody knows this name. For sure.
And that's the birthplace in Croatia. So that's where it came from.
Say it again?
Cyril Janek Kastelanski.
Okay.
So it translates to is the red grape of Castella.
Okay.
So.
And that's the Croatian term, and Croatia is one of the oldest winemaking kind of countries, right? There's a lot of.
I don't know that. I mean, Georgia is like 8,000 years old, so I don't know what Croatia is. Probably not that.
Okay, so Georgia probably more so. All right.
Right, but the way Zin made its way to California is kind of very interesting. So in the 1820s. Winemakers on the East Coast brought cuttings from Vienna to the East Coast to grow the grapes, and then in 1849 during the gold rush, a lot of people who were traveling to California tried to get rich. They needed shipments from the East Coast, everything including Zinfandel. So that's how Zinfandel found its place into California. So. In the late 1940s, that's when they started planting them. In the 1870s, it was already very prevalent. I think it was the most planted grape in California, Zinfandel. And even during the Prohibition, that was the choice of all the home winemakers was Zinfandel. So everybody who was making illegal alcohol at home, it was based on the Zinfandel grape. So. Okay. So that's why maybe they wanted to call the grape of California is because of its history in California. So.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know a little bit about the owner. Can I talk about that, or you got more?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Yeah, we'll go. I'm actually moving. And I can get the glare angle right, so if you can do that, that'd be good. So the owner is Laura Olds, and he grew up in Berkeley, so the Bay Area native. And he worked on his family farm in Missouri in the summers. And that's, obviously relevant. Winemaking and farming go hand in hand. So he worked at, I'm going to mispronounce this, so I apologize in advance, Bouillot Vineyard and Mayacamas Vineyards for a while. And those are very prestigious wineries in Napa.
Yes,
correct.
Well, Mayacamas is probably the most famous vineyard on Mount Veeder.
Okay, so he worked there while he was, he purchased this plot of land on the top of Mount Veeder. So while he was planting grapes and stuff, he was working at these prestigious wineries. So it's a family-owned winery in Napa Valley, and they practice sustainable farming and dry farming. They're not certified sustainable or organic because that's obviously quite a process to do that. But they do practice sustainable farming and dry farming techniques, which I think is really important. It probably produces better wines, and secondly, there's better winemaking. You don't need to irrigate your fields needlessly. And then the other really interesting part is that their entire winery is run on one solar panel.
Yes.
Which it's very cool. They're very sustainable, but basically the reason for that is that everything is hand picked, hand punched, hand operated, very manual. There's not like machines making this in bulk. So I thought that was very interesting. And then the one thing you didn't mention, which I thought you would, is that Mount Veeder is actually volcanic soil.
Yes.
So that kind of speaks to, I'm excited to taste it because
you should be excited to taste it.
Well, we should always be excited to taste it, but how often do you get to taste wines that the terroir is volcanic soil? So it's very interesting.
Yes.
So that's all I had, and I'll go over tasting notes once we taste it and food pairings in a little bit. But that was cool. Little backstory.
Yes. So I think Sonoma County is more known for Zin. Dry Creek Road, Lodi is another area famous for Zin, especially old vine Zins. And old vines, that's typically the grapes kind of shrink and they're more concentrated and produce more complex wines. So it's good to have old vine Zinfandel. But this Zinfandel is delicious.
Super different. Yeah, this is not like a California full fruit forward.
Yeah, it's delicious. I was completely taken back when I tasted this.
This is really good. Yeah, you can tell that it's very different than any other kind of fruit forward wines. How would I describe this? Like,
it's very bright, like elegant. It has nice acidic backbone, and it's got this kind of
herbal essence to it. It's kind of like sagey. Yeah, it's like sage, rosemary. It's like a herb bouquet.
But it has this kind of maybe continuous like cherry fruit that typically I don't associate with Zinfandel.
No, but I think that in tasting notes you call that violet. Yeah, it's what they call it, but it's like a complex cherry note, and they call that violet. So yeah, it's very good. It's got some black pepper to it, not overtly so. Raspberry. This is a very unique Zin.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I think that if you taste this Zin in a lineup, you'll definitely pick it out. It's super different.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure if I picked it. Would say it's a Zin.
I wouldn't know it was a Zin, but I would know that this wine would stand out.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's probably very age worthy. So it's got some tannic structure over there. I think it'd be in your cellar if you can stand it for a little bit.
Well, it's 2013 vintage already.
Yeah, and it's still.
It's got
it's got tannic structure. Not it's not too much tannic or anything, but I think it could age. Very nice.
Easily 7-8 years from this point.
Yeah. This is a very nice wine. I like this one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like
Good choice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So cool wines. Cool pronunciations today. We always got fun stuff. We love tasting this now. Virtual tasting is the thing, and I think virtually tasting these delicious wines is just as much fun.
Yep. So cool. So these are two really good wines. I really like this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Talk to you then, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Stay safe.